good afternoon and welcome to Carnation Crafts. We're live in the Carnation studio. As always, it's really wonderful to have your company. Exciting show today for more than one reason. We do have an announcement at the end of the show, so we will stay with us and we will do that. But it's the last day of launch. I don't like last days of launches. I like it because I love the collection, so it's just nice to keep exploring it. But Gifted Christmas comes to a close for us here on CC as far as live shows are concerned. Obviously, you'll still be able to grab it on their website. The number for Gifted Christmas for the full bundle is 230601. That's a show price today of $119.99. However, put in your code, which is CCGC10, all in capitals. You'll get a best price today, all the way down to $107.99. So you're getting a whacking great big discount off it. Free P&P in the UK because it is, of course, over £50. If you are international, then your shipping and handling is slightly different. If you were to buy the main bundle, that's going to cost you $4.95 in your shipping and handling. And if you want to add in a pack of perfect papers, and we'll look at those in a second, that's going to take you up to $14.95. So slight variations there. We are going to quickly go through the boards with you and sort of go through demos. But I do just want to have a look at the various points that you can get today that are not just the main bundle, because this might be the last time we get to explain them to you live today. One of the other items that is available, and it's so beautiful and it's been incredibly popular, it has obviously sold out, but they've got an extended for you, is the Frost Panel card shape, and that is going to be dispatched from the 26th of June. It's got a show price of $39.99. We are going to have a look at it, I think, in demo. We might have a little peruse. We did look at it in the last show and we did look at it in the first show. So if you want inspiration, they'll always be on YouTube. You can go back and watch. $2.95 UK P&P. The next one, again, we're going to be looking at in this show is your Christmas tree, putting up the tree, which is just one really clever little piece of engineering. Aren't they all from Carnation? And that's $17.99, which I think is a really awesome price because you get all the decorations for that tree as well at that price. That's $2.95 P&P. You'll find it on number 230609, and extraordinary it is as well. And the final one, which I love, is the debossing plate. So this is the Crisp Winter debossing plate 230608. Show price of $24.99 P&P, $2.95 in the UK. So that's all of those details. You will have Sue Martin, stop it, I have no space. Sue Martin, you just need to move house. You will have sort of obviously the ability to get all of this and to get your artwork later on this afternoon. As far as I'm aware, Carnation will put the vignettes on later today. So keep an eye out for them. Sometime late afternoon, they'll come live on the website. You can all go and get them then. They did want to leave it until today just to let everybody have a chance because Gifted Christmas has been exceptionally busy. It means you all get a chance to get onto the website. The other thing that you need to remember are your perfect papers, and that's the last thing we'll talk about before we go to boards and have a look at the collection. Your perfect papers, they're beautiful. They're really stunning. You've seen me demo with them. 230610 Gifted Christmas Perfect Papers. Not easy to say. I mean, a little bit easier to say when you're sober, but otherwise no. Show price $14.99, $2.95 UK P&P. Everything that you want to purchase for today can be found on the Carnation Crafts website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. I'm going to say hello to you all, and then I'm going to go to boards, and then we are going to composition up. So we've got Karen Vincent, hey, hey, hey. Talking about the announcement. Annie, hello again, lovely. Hey, Christine Brown, how you doing, lovely? Hey, Pearl. We've got Jacqueline, hello, hello. We've got Suzanne Page, who's saying hello to both of us. Sitting up fans as it's so hot. Good Lord.
I won't mind a bit of that.
You've been sat with a ginormous cardigan on.
Yeah, exactly. So I want some heat.
It's a fan. Would be cold.
Yeah, but to be in the warm.
Linda Wilson says, hi again, Carla and Miss Taz. Karen Richardson, morning, Carla and all. Karen Vincent said, still waiting for the postman. Never early, usually after 1 p.m, so you're impatient when it comes to Carnation. It's annoying when they come later. Sue Phillips Hickey says, hey, Carla and Taz. Alison, I can never pronounce it, Alison. My brain wants to put all kinds of number of R's in your surname. I do apologise. Muraru. Hi, Alison. Should we just call you Alison? Is it easier? Then we've got Sue Martin and we've got Kaylee Thompson. We've got Amanda Elizabeth Spriggs. We've got Mags Brown, Angela Lynham. Ooh, what is a debossing? Angela, remind me, I'll come back to you and we'll go through that. Linda Venus, and yeah, Jacqueline Ward. And then over on the tubes of the U, we've got Sheila Gent, we've got Carol Healy, and we've got Maureen Jeffers. What's a debossing plate? It's the same as an embossing folder, essentially. An embossing folder, obviously, you trap a piece of paper inside, and when it goes through your die cutting machine, the compression of the machine pushes that folder into your paper and creates a pattern on your paper. Whenever we go back to the original types of print press, we talk about embossing and debossing, and the two are the same thing but different. Embossing is known for being, it's the difference between concave and convex, essentially. So if you have something that is, I'm going to get this the wrong way around, hold on, embossed, I think goes in, debossed, the other bit goes in. It's your positive and your negative. So if I was to take the letter A, and I was to deboss the letter A, the actual letter A would go backwards into the paper, but the little triangle on the inside of the A would sit forward, okay? That's debossing. If I emboss it, the little triangle will sit backwards and the A will sit forwards. So one's embossing, one's debossing. We've got a debossing plate. I'll be totally honest with you, when it comes to the craft industry, it doesn't tend to really matter either way, but I will try and show you an example with some debossing on it. So you can see a card, I may have just moved them. I'll show you it on the boards because we're going to go to it any second and you can see it then. I hope that explains it. Linda McLeod, hello, lots of you here. Thank you, Carla. That's okay, Angela. I hope it explained it. I'm not the best at explaining things. Hey Viv, hey Emma, YouTube only. Ooh, that's a fancy name. Angela, thanks, that makes sense. To be honest, it's the same as an embossing folder, but we've got a metal plate, so it's much sturdier than an embossing folder, and it's got much more of a kick on it. And if you want a real kick, obviously the best way you'll ever get that is metal on metal, so doing it with a metal shim on your Wadgum thingy, even stronger than if you do it on a normal sort of piece of foam. But I've been using Elevate to do my debossing on, and it works a treat because it really does have that give, that beautiful cushion, so it pushes in and that paper really does deboss. Let's have a look at these boards. So we've got Bursting with Joy. Bursting with Joy, slightly different to a normal card shape because it isn't a card shape, it's everything. It's got so much on here that you can do to create and transform card making. I don't buy into the idea that this is for Christmas. I think this is to do with every card you might ever make in the future, and certainly any shabby chic types of cards that you make, because we create beautiful curved edges and we create beautiful curved sort of torn edges. I've just put all my stuff away because I was tidying up and it was the wrong time to put it away, Miss Taz, because now I can't show the torn edges, but I'll do it on the boards as we go through, and then I'll show you in demo. But you've got the circle, you've got the square, the large square, then you've got your sort of diamond shape here. We said we'd used that one in the last demo we did in the earlier show. But then you've also got lines, so you can create peaking lines, so we can have elements coming through behind those. Same here, curvature coming round. You've got the little circle, the little triangle, and then you have got corner edges, so we can pull down those beautiful corner turns and pop flowers behind them. We can do bouquets. They just look extraordinary. Examples of that sort of come in when we look at things like this, and you're creating those apertures for things to stand in behind, and they just sit beautifully, those curved pulled edges. So you've got all of those elements there. You can see it again here working in that corner piece, and that is so effective, isn't it? So beautiful. Is it Christmas? No, I don't think so. Can you use it for any of your card making? Absolutely. Is it going to be an extraordinary asset? Yes. Now, why is it so clever? If I was to take this curved piece here, just this one die, okay, and that is one particular single die. If I take that and I was to chuck it here on my card, I could get a curved little corner here. I could pull that forward and I could tuck some stuff in it. So you can have as many of those as you want across any of your card making. Think how that's going to level up. Think about if you wanted to make a DL, think about making a really beautiful long DL card shape, okay? You're going to take one of those dies and you're going to put it at the top on your left hand side, and then you're going to put one in the middle on your right hand side, and one possibly just off center towards the left, but not quite as far left, and fill each pocket with florals with those torn edges coming down, especially with carnation florals. And if you do that white on white, coloured florals going down with those little curled edges coming out, pretty beyond. So that's why I don't think it's for Christmas. I know it's part of the Christmas collection, but to me, I like to know that everything, I can do lots with it. And I think this is such a prime example of where Carnation take us, because we can do loads with it, and you could create these enormously beautiful pockets of florals, pockets of creatures. You could have little animals coming out, all kinds of things. So if we go back to, what was the Easter collection with the otter and there was the otter and the rabbit and Wild Wonders? Was that the year before?
That was last year.
I've got no memory. The one that had the otter in it that was just awesome, and we had the little sets for the animals. Dawn of Spring, there was the little sets. Just think of how you could use these with the little sets behind them, with those little animals peeking through. So you could create incredibly awesome things in a little set sitting behind those apertures. So that is bursting with joy, and it is absolutely worth it. My advice, if you were going to buy one single item, or if you wanted to buy two in single items, it would be the main card shape, which we'll talk to you in a minute, which is separate to the bundle, and then that, because I think you can go so far with both of them. Beautifully wrapped. Stunning. Stunning, stunning, stunning. This die is beautiful. Now, it creates bows that you can use, obviously, in all of your card making. Lovely shapes here. So you've got your gold and your red coming through. You can mix and match them all together. But more importantly, it creates a card in and of itself, which is just exquisite. And it looks real. That looks like real fabric. It looks like a real ribbon. It ain't. It's a piece of paper. But man alive, is it beautiful. 2 colorways on that, so you can build your bows however you want. You can have shorter line ones, you can have long line ones. You've got long tails for them. You've got a little tag, and you've got a little string bow at the bottom there as well. All elements that you can bring into your card making. So that is beautifully wrapped, and indeed it is very beautifully wrapped. Then we've got your seasonal celebrations. These have got your what are we saying, Taz? Poinsettias and your white flowers. Also probably have a really lovely fancy name. I don't know what it is. And then you've got your holly berries, but you get a white version of these, so they're also your mistletoe berries. Then you've got your pine cone, your ferns, your holly, season's greetings, Merry Christmas, each one with its own mats and layers for your 2 sentiments. That in itself, the things you can build just with that board. I think when you start to think of name tags for Christmas tables, when you start to think of labelling out and putting really beautiful things on the presents that you've made, if you've done Christmas presents and you've wrapped them in those brown craft papers, which I love so much, to just put little elements like this that are glued on to give it that really beautiful Christmas feel. Oh, Sue Martin. Oh, you little genius. I think the white ones are Christmas roses. I'm totally going to take your word for it, Sue. I don't know flowers, except for lavender, which I really like, and French lavender. But I think that's the same thing with just a different colour. So that is your seasonal celebrations. Then we go from there. You've got your gorgeous, gorgeous little creatures all sitting here, very, very happy to be together. Oh, Amanda says they're for Christmas roses too. You guys are awesome. You're the best. Thank you. So we've got the beautiful fox. I worked with him this morning, and I think he's exquisite. Like his face, those eyes are just stunning, right? Really doleful eyes. The beautiful Robin, who's having the best time with his little woolly hat on. Can you remember Crossroads and Benny in Crossroads? Or am I too old? He's got a little Benny hat on. And then we've got your polar bear, beautiful with his lovely Christmas jumper on. You've got the little rabbit, you've got the little mouse, you've got the big present, you've got your little presents, and then a tiny flat present, all of them really useful height building. So what Carnation do? Quick explanation. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 presents in this collection, all separate. You've got one that's big, okay, and that would be, you could use that as your show stopper, so you could use it in the centre of your card with nothing else, and it will just steal the show. Then we've got a tall, long line present, and that tall, long line present is giving you height but not width. So that means composition-wise, you can use it over in a corner, you can use it in the centre point, but it won't take up width. So visually, we're keeping things inwards for composition. Then you've got one that's a little bit wider, but it's squat. So this is where we can start building height, because the taller one could effectively be placed on top of the squat one as if it was toppling. You can start to play with those elements to it. But then they give us one that is flat. Okay, and the flat one is more elongated than any of the others. So consequently, that's a really nice piece. If you've got like a table point and you just want to build a little bit of height, but you still want to have something behind that that is your main height, it gives us that boost. So they're all thought through. None of these are done by accident. Everything has a reason with Carnation. It's all to do with your composition. It works. We love them for that. You've got elements for your tree. You've got a little glass of red wine or a little glass of port, or you know, one of those things, and then you've got some crumpled up wrapping paper as well. Suzanne Page, I remember Crossroads Benny. Me too. Hey Anne Munson, hey Lynn Condry, hey, oh no, we're back to Emma YouTube Only. I really like your name, Emma YouTube Only. I'm assuming it's not your real one, but I like it. Yeah, they're amazing, aren't they, Lynn? Really pretty. Your cold snap corners, really important pieces, probably your most important in some ways, because when we can bring in these in either colour or white on white, which is just extraordinarily pretty, and just have that shadow difference between the two on your colourways, or bring these in a blush and have a starker background, or vice versa, you'll get the most incredible effects from these. Now, one of my best pieces of advice on here is to use a blush paper underneath them and cut this in a stark white, either in your 240 smooth or in your 350 smooth, and that will give you just this really beautiful element of composition. It's not going to steal the show, it's not meant to, but what it is going to do is give you those incredibly awesome, beautiful corner outs. If you're doing an 8x8, use all 4 corners. If you're doing a DL, just use the 2 corners opposing. If you're doing a you know, a longer line card, a 5x7 for instance, but you're doing it in landscape, then to use one on either corner with some florals. They're really important, those pieces, because they give us the visual we're looking for. Linda says, I remember Miss Diane. I remember Miss Diane too. And who was the bloke with the moustache? Looks a bit like Tom Selleck, but like the British version. What was his name? I always seem to remember he had shorts on. Stop talking. Right, me, not you. Putting up the tree. We have got this piece. This is clever. We're going to play with this in a second because I want to show you it. But it extends. So if I was to put this down, put my finger on the start and pull the bottom of it, it's going to stretch out and it's going to go into a dome. And that is going to look incredible. It's going to be really, really pretty. It says, SH Will, is Miss Diane in the collection? As I heard she's seeking Benny's hat. She's been looking for years. I know, right? I know. Adam Chance. Annie, is that who it was? Miss Taz, have you got time to look up Adam Chance for me? I think it was him. Oh, and I can't read what your name says. Toronto Soak? Spirito 7JW Toronto Soak. My poster's just bought mine. Think of all the fun you're going to have. This tree, you can decorate it. You can put on all of the baubles. It's super pretty, and you have got your gorgeous, gorgeous pieces here to put round. But I really love these turned upside down and used kind of as a swag in your page as well. Really pretty. Could be used as a crown if you were to cut it shorter. Does he have a tash?
Yeah.
Does he look a bit like Tom Selleck? Do you know who Tom Selleck is?
I know,
He was in
I
Friends.
know who he is. It's the guy you're thinking of.
Everyone's saying they think it. Well, Miss Spirit, no, Miss Spirit. I was just reading that from there. Miss Taz says she thinks it is Adam Chance. Is he wearing some shorts? This has sold out. Of course, it's sold out. It is stunning. It's got the prettiest design to it, and it's so clever from an engineering point of view. So you've got this piece here which folds over. It comes into a box, so you get this long lined tube that goes here because all of those score lines turn, and these little holes allow you to weave through a paper ribbon. Oh, he's so handsome though.
Oh no, we're gonna...
Miss Taz, he's really handsome. That moustache is something. So they all go around. Looks like Magnum PI, he does. Like Tom Selleck. This paper ribbon will weave. You see how they tuck in? Okay? They go down, and then you've got your bow to sit as well. And it means we can create really spectacular side panels to the cards, which I just love. I've never seen anything like these before, and I think that's why I'm so taken with this, because that element on the side of that card, isn't that just spectacular? And I think the fact that we can cut these out in the reds and the greens as well, so that if you were making this card, for instance, you could do that in the green going round, or if you wanted to offset the colour to a red as well. You could do that and it would look extraordinary, wouldn't it? Really, really pretty. Just tones are just beautiful. Get your gold papers out, use those. Carnation do have some Crafters Companion papers on their website, which have got the 3 colours. So there's a sort of a green gold on there, just really beautiful, and they're all on there for the Christmas release as well for this one, and potentially the next one as well, which is very exciting. So that is your main card shape. That's your frost panel card shape. It has sold out. 230607, 39.99, 2.95 UK P&P, but it will still dispatch on the 26th. It's not that far away. Right, I can't remember who it was that was just asking me about the embossing and debossing. That's your debossing plate. So if it was embossed, it would be the other way around. It was Angela, thank you, Taz. So it'd be other. If it was embossed, these little petals that you see here would go down. They would be sort of into the paper, and the rest would be up. So it's just the difference between the deboss and the emboss and how it sits. But look how big that panel is. That piece of metal is extraordinary. It's such a large, large die. Really, really awesome to work with. Look at that. Now, normally you'll get like a plastic embossing folder. They took it to the next level. We have got something that is so beautifully done. It's really extraordinary. And that's your crisp winter debossing plate from Carnation, all going in alongside beautifully with the gifted Christmas collection, obviously separate pieces, 230608 for your little debossing plate, or your very big debossing plate, as we should say. SH Will is saying Adam is still on Megan's cruise. I bet he is on Meg's cruise. Bobby Ewing did come out the shower, I'm just saying. Pammy was very happy. Miss Taz does not know who any of these people are. None of them. Right, let's have a look at some stuff. One of the things I want to talk to you about is the Christmas tree, the putting up the tree, because it's just aces. Now, are you ready for something really spectacular? I'm going to get myself to a right pickle now. So when I'm demoing and I'm putting all my demos together, this is what Carnation looks like when we're demoing, okay? And this is how, in my head, composition looks like that. And if that does not look like the most glorious scene, I don't know what does. What it allows me to do, when I visually look at that, the first thing I can see is colour. And actually, the first thing I can see is the colour orange, because the robin redbreast has an orange tone to it, and so does the fox. From there, the next colour I see are reds, and I fade out to green. Now, you may see that visually very, very different to me, but it's, again, an important aspect of composition. How do you see? How do you visualise? What is your colour approach? So to me, when I'm looking at that and I'm thinking I want to use, for instance, the robin, which I can see very predominantly here as an orange-red colour, I know that if I'm going to work with red as my background, if I was to use a matte layer that's red, I'm going to lose the tone of the robin, because I'm going to try and counterbalance it, and I'm going to balance in the wrong way. Both are too heavy. So I know first and foremost, if I want to use the robin on its own, I'm going to have to use a green background. So that's just so I can counter the colours, because he's got a little green hat on, so the green's going to bring out the tone of that, which is going to allow the red of the robin redbreast to shine bright. But I'm just going to cool it, and it's always about cooling your tone. So if you're then going to use something that's predominantly green, red mats and layers are going to be a better friend if you want to just play with those two colours. If you want to neutralise your zone altogether and you just want it to just kind of cool it all down, tone it all out, go with gold. So those three choices, if you're just working with those three choices, are going to be your best friends, okay? For Christmas cards, always, because they give you that. Now, one of the other things that I'll say to you, and I know lots of people like to craft for Christmas in blues and silvers, those cold tones, those very, very cold tones. Gifted Christmas comes to you in warm tones. It is naturally a warm tone theme. But if you want to work with your cooler tones, I will say to you, blue backgrounds will work spectacularly with all of these colours, as will silver. They will work beautifully, and it'll just go very, very nicely together, because you're going to have that tone. So we've got this here, and I've got all of my elements that I play with, and that's all we're going to look at is just your colour base. Where are you getting your colours from? Smooth it out, tone it out. Now, what we're going to work with from there is your rose blush papers. And I love the rose blush for this collection because we've got your reds. So what I want to talk to you about is your Christmas tree predominantly. So we're going to take that and use it as a separate element because I want you to show how the engineering on it works and how it looks as we start to decorate it and bring it together, because it's so pretty and the engineering behind it is just exquisite. So we're going to take that and use it separately. So we're just going to put our creatures away. They're just going to have a little sleep in here like Miss Taz. And I'm just going to put my berries over there, and I'll keep those out ready for comp. Now, what we've got when we've got the Christmas tree, you can just see the metal of the die here. I've got this piece that looks a little bit like a wedding cake, and when you cut it, it replicates that shape. Now you can cut it in any colour, obviously, that you want to cut it, okay? But it does have a vignette, and the vignette is pretty as a picture. It's very, very crisp and toned. So you've got this beautiful colour, slightly grey, so it's not white, and it works on blush paper a treat because the colours all come out. So where you've got a slightly tonal pink at the bottom, you can just see a slight tonal pink. If I put that onto a pink blush, you can just see those colours start to just come through a little more. We get a glow from it. Whereas if I put it onto a very, very stark white, next to that, it will appear more grey. Okay, just the way we tone in. Now if I put those together, so I've got that tonal fragment come through, it just works. It pairs beautifully. Also brings out those beautiful tones of the star as well. So you can see how that starts to come together. Now how does the tree work? What if you want a long line tree and you don't want a little tree? You might want both, or you could use both together. The way it works, take the tail and the star, and you're just going to separate them out gently. So I can pull, 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 and I've got a long line tree, and I can curve those all out. Now you can see it gets a natural curve to it, an inclination towards one point or another. So if I just show you it on this side, because it's now already curvatured that way. How clever is that? Isn't that stunning? And that is Carnation's power, right? That's where we go with Carnation's power, because we get those very, very clever engineering points. Just super pretty. And we are going to work with this tree today. We're going to look at decorating it up, and we're going to look at it as it comes together as that panel point, and see how decorating the tree adds just a really lovely pop of colour to something that's very naked behind. So we are working white on white, and we are going to use those blush tones to break down my white. I don't want it all to be white. One thing I can say as well is, while I'm here, I'm not going to use it in the demo for this because I do want to work strategically on white, but if I then bring in this panel, which I love, from this card shape, if I was to glue that whole point down, what that actually looks like is an embossed plate, right? It looks a little bit like that with that lovely big diamond in the middle. Really, really pretty. Now, if I take, let's have a look, a whacking great big bit of foam tape, I'm just going to take a couple of slices of this and I lay it on top of each other. I'm obviously not going to unstick those because I don't want it for this. But what happens if I just lay this down and place, see how my shadows change now? And I'm working with something entirely different to if it's flat. It doesn't look debossed anymore. Now it looks like it's snowing. It's got a really pretty element to it. So this is where we start to change with composition, just so you all know, and how we play and how we align things differently. If I'm going to lay that completely flat, I can actually make that card slightly more busy because there's less going on. Because I'm adding shadow in, I'm already making it busier, so I'm going to put less in. So for instance, if I take this beautiful wee robin and pop him in the center, I don't really need an awful lot else. I would shape him out and pop a sentiment on. That's really, really pretty. However, if I start to add in something that is automatically visually busier, such as this, I'm going to lose it. It's going to get lost. Do you see what I mean? We've got too much busy going around. So I don't want to lose it. It's incredibly powerful, that tree, so I don't want to effectively lose it. If I was to take away the foam tape, lay that flat and glue it, I get my tree back. Can you see? So the difference between the two. If you're going to put that down and you want to put something busier on top of it, just make sure you glue the whole thing down. If you want to put something that's a really colourful pop, you can add your shadow by raising it. But by doing that, you are going to lose anything that's busy. So I hope that helps. Let's have a look at this. Right, I have got some pieces here that come from the main card shape. And we've got these really beautiful little strips of gold and red that I love very much. We can do all sorts with these. They're meant for weaving in that piece, that cardboard piece that I was showing you originally, but we can do other stuff too. What I could do is start to build a border like I'm doing here. I could take 3 and I could very gently plait them, and that would create a really beautiful stylized colour, and I can use that as a side frame too. Or because I've got that side panel that I can use, and I think that stands on its own, if I don't want to use the extra piece, I can start bordering out by doing an L shape to create a grounding device all the way down here. And then I can just cut that where necessary. Will I definitely do that? Not necessarily. Am I playing right now? Of course I am. This is how we get our composition going. So if I start out with that line and I know that I can work with a grounding device, I can start to build from that point. If I take the tree and I really elongate it and I put that here and I was to glue that at its highest point, I can put a smaller one behind it for perspective. So you could have 2 and it will look like one is further away than the other. I'm not going to because it's too busy, but you see where I'm coming from. If you want to make a forest scene with these, you absolutely could, but I would use a darker background. What I'm going to do though is keep to the main tree line that we've got. I'm going to place this up, push that across, bring it down, and then I could either work with florals and create a beautiful scene, or I can build in my tree. So let's go in here first and place, and let's look at colour and tone. Isn't that beautiful? I just think that on its own, I'll be honest, I think is so pretty just to sit, the way it bowls over. Now, if I take some of my Christmas tree decorations, I can build those up. I've got them sitting here. And I can just start bringing in some really pretty piece points, and I can bring in colours. And the question is, where do I want to go with them? Now I've added red and gold there. I don't know if I'm sticking with that, but it gives me a baseline for colour. It allows me to see things visually, where do I want them to be. Now the colours I've got for my baubles are greens, oranges and golds. So then I get to choose, how do I want to place them? Where will I seat them? What will I do in order to make them look full? What I can do is build these in, and I can put them either across and build in those festoons. If I was doing that, I'd put a couple in. I can put them that way, but to me they look odd. Or obviously you do it in the opposite direction as well, it doesn't matter. But I think what I want to do is build in green. I like the idea of green. It's the one that's sticking out to me the most here. I'm not going to do the whole thing green, but I like it a little bit green. So let's take this, chuck in a bit of wet glue, and then we can work on that and go forward. So grab your applicators. Remember, Carnation Crafts have got extended applicators, so they've got a longer nose on them, a longer fuzzy, which allow us to get into filigree areas. So if you're gluing something like the card panel, you can get glue into the tiniest areas because we have the long fuzzy on it rather than the little ball, and that helps. So what I'm going to do, now I've got that line stuck, I am going to glue the Christmas tree down. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this, and I'm going to use this as my base point. I'm not going to stick down my grounding devices yet. I'm okay at the minute with those still being loose because I don't know if I'm going to use them. But I do know that I can stick this. So sitting this down at the bottom, placing through, pulling up just to where I can get hold of that and make sure it's relatively straight, and seat it. So I've got my shadow play there. My shadow play is going to be incredibly important in this because we're bowling out. Now because it's stuck at the top and the bottom, I can play with the other layers, I can shape them, I can make sure I've got them exactly where I want them before I commit to anything and fully play. And that has got to be one of the cleverest dies, and we haven't really spoken about it enough because there's so many clever dies in this collection, but to say that that has got all of this dimension just by stretching it out, and look at the side panel of it, you see? Just from pulling it. That's clever. So I'm just going to lay those as they were. Let's decorate. I'm going to go in first with some green, and I'm going to lay them on the diagonal. And if I'm working with a border, over on my left hand side, I'm going to want the top part to be at the right side just to bring my balance in. So I'm going to lay this diagonally from there to there. That's going to create a visual height coming up on the other side of the card without ever actually adding height to the other side of the card. Make sure it's stuck. Okay, so you've got that tinsel. It draws the eye over to this side, which matches the height I've got on this. If I choose not to use those, it's not going to matter. So then I'm going to do this again. And then I'm going to put some glue here, hither and thither. Lay out on there. Just making sure I've got roughly the same curvature as the one on top, so visually you've got something that looks correct. Okay, and that's going to sit through, just sitting pretty. Whether I choose to use my side pieces or not, it's still actually helping me decide on colour theory. Where do I want the colour to go? What colours am I going to use and how am I going to draw them in? I love the fact that I've got the red impact and the gold impact, and I've now got the green. So now I can start working with all the colours and work out the balance of it. I will say I'm probably going to use those two panels because I like the way they play with each other and I like the way the tones are working. It's got the full Christmas look, hasn't it? The red, the gold and the green. So I'm going to probably stick with those, but never ever commit into it until I've decided what the tree looks like at the end, because what might happen if I overbalance on green on the baubles, for instance, I might choose that actually I want two reds going round or two golds to cool it, depending whether I want to heat it up or cool it down. So I'm going to leave those and not glue them until I've decided colour theory wise where do I want to go from that point. So I'm going to sit here with these and just add in, first of all, a couple of reds, not too many, but I'm just going to tiny amounts here and place through. You're probably better using tweezers to do this. I don't have mine here, so well I do, but the legs have got bent the wrong way, so I won't try that. I'm going to put that one in the middle just to base out that composition. Now what I want to do here, see how I've got this ending at this point and it kind of goes to the middle of nowhere. I want to cover that, and I'm going to cover that with a bauble. So what I'm going to do in order to tone that and in order to balance it, because that's green, that's red, I'm going to go in obviously with a gold and just tone the colour out, just cool it down a little bit. So I'll go in at this side with the gold. Piece it through and just lay it flat. Okay, already can you see how we're starting to get that structure of colour coming through, so we can work out where do we need to go, how is the colour going to impede or how is it going to help, and which way do we want to do it. Now I can just go full out now and just put anything anywhere if I wanted to. That's probably the easiest way of doing it, and just be like, well, I'm just going to put a load of colours. But I'm somebody who likes to have a little bit of symmetry where it's possible, and it isn't always, but it's just the way I work. So I'm going to place this one through, just on here. That beautiful shadow play and that gorgeous white on white, that very graceful, elegant sort of sway that comes through from having the corner pieces here, those beautiful circular pieces. So we're still going to work on those same colour points. Now the question is, do I want to add in green baubles? I've got the green of the swags, so a green bauble is going to detract or, you know, give me extra. So what I'm going to do is work it out here, and I don't know that it adds anything because it's got the green below it, so I think I'm losing it. So I'm going to stick with my golds. I've now made the decision, stick with my golds, stick with my reds for the composition of this piece. So I've got all my elements here, now I can play. So I'm going to stick with reds essentially down the midline, golds down the outside, keep the midline structured in, but as I work out I can elongate the reds so it will make the tree appear wider. So if I put a red here, and then as I sort of get to this point I put a red at either side of that centre point, and then two reds and two reds potentially, or three down there. Same again at the bottom, it will elongate the colour because the gold will just finish it off but not shout from the outside. So we're working constantly on theory and colour theory. So going in to this side, now I don't want to keep it fully centred. This one obviously, like I say, the next two we're going to go side by side at the bottom. We're starting to bring out into that triangle of colour. So just pulling through those elements. So I'm going to go to this point, just off centre. Same again. Okay, pretty, pretty, pretty. Now I do want to have some gold, so I'm going to make sure they're shunted in enough. What I could do here is put a gold in the middle, but it's going to affect the way I see it as balanced, and I want to cover my workings down here because I don't like it. I don't like that little green edge just having no place to be. I want it to be covered. So the way I'm going to play with that is to do it in the golds, but I'm going to use the diamond shape, not the little fat round ones, and that's just going to keep it more streamlined because I've got the visual choice. So I'm going to pop a little bit of glue there. But it's warm, Miss Taz. Are you warm? Now you've taken your cardigan off, your duvet. Do you, do you feel your cardigan was being judged? And placing this one on here. So I keep my visuals. You see how the red starts to visually look wider. So this one, we're going to bring a red in here and we're going to bring two on the side, but the two on the side are going to be slightly further out, just slightly visually than those two. So we're still coming out in that triangle and we're still bringing out that colour tone. So we've got one in the centre. And they're such small pieces, these, but they're such valuable pieces. They're so important to the structure of the card, just because the colour can help change the way it has its grace and its value. So just ever so slightly off, just placing that in there. And now I'm building that beautiful triangle on that comp element. Then I'm going to go in with, I'm looking for two thin golds. Bring that colour tone round. Finish off your edges. Like so. Now the bottom line here, we've got choices. Do we want to add more colour as far as this is concerned, as far as the baubles are concerned, or do we want to bring it in a different type of element? And I think probably I'm going to try and bring in a present, see what that looks like, and if it doesn't work I can add more baubles. But what I do want to get is one more bauble in the centre here because I'm off balance. I can see I'm off balance. And we're always stepping back and visually checking. If you have trouble visually checking whether your balance is correct or not, and you're halfway through, such as here, take a photo of what you've done, walk away from the original card and go and look at the photo, because for some reason we get a different perception from it, and you can see what's right and what's wrong from it. I don't know why it helps, but it does help. But I do know that my centre point needs something else, and so I'm going to just pop a very slim line gold in between those two fatter little baubles that sit there, and that is now going to balance out that colour tone for me just beautifully. Isn't that pretty, that tree? Now I've got the big presents, or I've got the smaller presents. We were talking about those earlier and how we can use them. So we're comping here, so we're not committing to anything. So what I'm going to do is look in my bag of tricks and find my presents, which I've got just sitting here. And I'm going to look at the different sizes. What do I want them to do? What do I want to pick to, what do I want to achieve? I'm not necessarily going to use the presents, but I want to have a look at what they bring and what they don't. I'm just going to bring in these. So I've got all 4 sizes of presents sitting here. So if I take those, now what I can do is leave my grounding device where it is, because it's making sense of the tree, right? Or I can take it away on that blush, which is super pretty, and I can start to add in colour. Now I could add in 2 of the larger ones and just break these through, or I can break the symmetry. Pop that one there. I still want to see the base of my tree a little bit. I still need it to make sense. So I can bring that through and I can start to work downwards for composition. But because I've got the height working both ways, because I've got that sitting up at that point and not down here, and I don't have that borderline anymore, I'm probably better off mixing up my heights. Sue Martin said, would tiny lights fit behind the tree? Yeah, 100%. If you were going to do that, Sue, what I would advise you to do See how on the back of this, I can't lift it up at the minute, see on the back of this I've got foam tape. I'd need to find a point at the back of my card where I can put a pin prick through to get the lights in. Oh, shall I do it for you? We've got time. I'm nearly finished with the card and we're going to go through the boards again. I don't know if the batteries are in here, but I'll show you how I would feed it, and I would do it probably from the beginning, but let's just quickly do this. Hold on. These can be found on Carnation Crafts website. Now's the time to get them because we sell out very fast of tiny lights at Christmas time. Now is the time. If I was going to do this, I'm not going to fully feed it through, but the first thing I would do is go, where's my mechanism going for the light? Got my batteries in it. There's my on and off switch. That has to be accessible, otherwise what's the point of putting the lights in? So the first thing I'm going to do, where do I need that? Now for me, it's probably going to be at the bottom of the card, that switch hidden underneath my mats and layers. It's going to be over here, and that's going to have to be, you know, done that way, or it's going to need to be at the top, one way or another. But in order to make it work so that my tree is covering up my work-ins, what I'm going to do, and I'll do it for you live, I wouldn't normally do this, but if I take this, I'm going to take it beneath here, or here, wherever I think it's the most covered, and I'm going to poke straight through, but avoid my foam tape. And I'm going to take it through my mat and through my layer if I've got them, or in this case, I've only got the mat. Oh, there's a bit of Phyllis. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to poke a hole. You can hear it go through. So then if I lift this, just get rid of that present, you can see it coming through the back. That's going to have my pokey hole there. My tiny lights, I don't know what I've just done them, I've just put them down, are going to sit with my mechanism down here. I'm going to red liner tape it in. I'm going to feed that with red liner tape too, and I'm going to poke that through. This end is going to poke through, pull through all of those elements, keeping that hidden, and I'm going to line it behind my tree. Then I'm going to lay my tree down. So I hope that helps. That's going to give you a really easy way to get your mechanism for your tiny lights going behind that Christmas tree, and that can be done on any of your cards as well and look extraordinary. It's just an easy way of doing it. Poke behind your work in and then use red liner tape at the back to stick it, because those wires, there's nowhere for them to go. But if you put some red liner tape and push your wire onto the red liner tape, it will stay fixed in place. It looks really effective. Right, let's go with these presents. So I've got this here. I really like it as it is, I'll be totally honest. I think that's so pretty just as it is, but let's just finish this bottom section. So presents in here. Then I'm going to take this longer line present and my squat present, and I'm just breaking those cut lines that Carnation have put in order to create the shapings, just pulling through. Now the question is, if I go in line, so if I put this one next to this one, and I start working down in order of height, it's going to start looking a little bit like a doctor's waiting room, and it's going to look odd because it doesn't match in. I'd have to overlay. It doesn't work, and still we're slanting off this way, so it looks like we're on a sledge, and we don't want that. We need to play it differently. So what I'm going to do is change the way this is. Very slightly, not massively, but it'll make a difference. See how this goes upright on this point here? If my present goes at this side, I can lay it underneath that swag, and it's just going to give me the visual. It's also going to give me a natural grounding device because it's tucked under. So it changes the view we get. Then I'm going to use a little bit of pin flare just in the center here, not much, but enough for adhesion to occur and for height to be maintained. Just a little. It's going to poke under. So now that I know where my grounding device is, I can work on the others. This one I can tuck over the top of the other two, but it still needs to be on the floor, otherwise it's not going to make sense. So now where I was shaping those other ones out, I'm not going to shape them much, but what I am going to do is keep the height of this one over to this side, slightly back perspective wise to this one. Now the way I'm going to get round that, so see how these are floating? That's my grounding device because it's my biggest piece. This is now floating somewhere behind and there's absolutely no common sense to it whatsoever. But I can change the way that works, put in a little bit just here, place it through. So I'm sort of covering that working at the back. My height is wrong. Everything about that is wrong height-wise. I can make slight sense of it because of that, but what I need to do is now start bringing things forward. So the first thing that's going to come in is my lovely wide point, and that can sit at the baseline of this present too. So I get it's the same height here. We now know that's the grounding device because I've got two at the same height. We're making sense of it. So make sure that is set, make sure your adhesion's worked. Pin flare is going to move all the time because that's the nature of it, and it's what makes it so beautifully unique and perfect to use. But it does mean you've got to keep checking where you're going with it. So that tree is that present, is floating completely in midair because they're at the same grounded device. I've got to rectify that issue. Now pin flare is going to help because I can move it if I need to, and I could add something to cover my working, or I can bring in something else just to build that level ground and make sense of it all. And that is going to help bring my composition together at the bottom of the tree with balance. It's going to make it look balanced, whereas before it wasn't, and that's why we changed it. So having the tree, you remember the big tree over here, it didn't work because that goes up. Just look at your balance, look at your composition, and it will beautifully, beautifully come together. Place that as your grounding device and put that flat down. And that, I think, is just such a spectacularly pretty card. If you're not happy with white space, if white space makes you feel remotely uncomfortable, of course, just pop in. You could pop in a little bow in a corner if you wanted to. You could pop in a little floral, if I can find this one here, a little white floral, something along those lines, just to change out your colorings. I don't like it so much. I like to have that beautiful clean space. I think white space, because we get that value of relief on the eye, I think it's incredibly important, and I think that tree is such a spectacular piece of engineering that it doesn't need anything else, I'll be totally honest. Gifted Christmas has got to be one of my favourite of Carnation's Christmas collections so far. It's incredibly pretty. It's very, very beautiful. It's lovely to work with. Those colours that we see going through that, those reds, those oranges and those greens for the whole of this collection, and the engineering pieces that come with things like Bursting with Joy, which are so different to anything that we normally have, are just really, really important because they change the way that we create cards. And that's not just Christmas cards, of course, that is all cards for certain aspects. 230601, we're starting to close in on Gifted Christmas for the Carnation channel, which is extremely sad. 230601, that's the full bundle, and you're going to get the best value by buying it that way. It would normally be $119.99. If you would like to get it today for the show price of $107.99, please do go to the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk, and please do use the code CCGC10, all in capital letters, and that'll give you 10% discount, which is always nice to have. Free P&P because it is over £50. If you'd like to buy the other elements, then of course please do go and visit the Gifted Christmas section on the Carnation website. To find out what those bits and pieces are in the main bundle, let's have a look through the rest of the boards. So we've seen Bursting with Joy, which is where we cut into those beautiful pieces and we create those gorgeous elements such as these, where you've got those gorgeous overturned ripped elements. Really, really beautiful. So, so pretty. It's such a clever piece. Then you have got beautifully wrapped, which is your bow, and that again, absolutely stunning, beautiful cards to be made with this piece. Lots of different ways of bringing that bow in. It's just pretty, right? There's something about it. Just remember, all your values and your colors change differently just depending on what it is you're making and how you bring in your colors. Just super, super beautiful. Then we have got all of your florals here, your poinsettia, what are we doing? You do it, Miss Taz. Christmas rose, again another poinsettia. Then you've got your holly berries and your mistletoe berries. You've got your pine cone. You've got your holly down here, and your two beautiful sentiments. We've got Season's Greetings, Merry Christmas. From there we go to your gorgeous little creatures. They're so gorgeous, aren't they? I love the fox. I love the fact we've got the robin. I love, love, love him. He's been the star of the show, I think, for the whole of this Christmas collection. Everybody is in love with Pablo, the gorgeous, gorgeous polar bear. Then we've got your little rabbit, your little mouse. You've got your gifts that we were just playing with, your little Christmas table, your log stump for your little animals to sit on, all of your presents, your little glass of port, and of course your wrapped paper. Cold snap corners, one of your most important pieces in the whole collection to give you those beautiful, beautiful elements that sit. So you've got your pieces at the top, the bottom. You can create the most beautiful, gorgeous panels in this. Get these out on your 8x8. Use all 4 corners or on a DL, one on opposing sides. It'll look incredible. Outside of the bundle, the other pieces that you can buy that go alongside Gifted Christmas beautifully and work very, very well. The tree that we've just been using, which I think is such a powerful piece of engineering for a die and just works beautifully. So you can have it this size or the size that we just made the card with and change it completely out. You can see how that then comes together in all of that prettiness as we raise it. That can be found on the Carnation website on 230609 1799 295 UK P&P if you buy that on its own, because it is not over £50. This sold out super fast, of course it did. I think it was sold out by the time we even went to wear on the second show. It just went nuts. It's your frost panel card shape. This is 230607. Carnation have managed to get an extended dispatch from the 26th of June, so that'll take it to $39.99 today, $2.95 UK P&P if you buy it on its own. It is so pretty and so incredible, and I'm really sad to say that that's the end of the demos with that one, because it's truly spectacular when you're working with it. But you will still be able to get it from the 26th of June. That's when they're doing the dispatch for it. And then this little corker is absolutely stunning. That's your deboss pattern, your plate, sorry, your crisp winter debossing plate. 230608 on the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Don't forget to add in your perfect papers as well, and that will bring your collection all together and make everything work beautifully. There's lots of you here, and we all know why you're here. As much as I'm sure it's for my demos, it's not. We know why you're really here. So we have obviously got an announcement to make, and you've all been waiting and guessing for it. So you'll notice that at the moment, the only place you can buy Carnation Crafts products is on Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Many of you guessing what we will be doing, future facing, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting, Miss Tiz Taz.
Very exciting.
Are you very excited?
Very excited.
We're very excited. Lots of you have been guessing. We've been watching the guesses come online, and thank you for supporting, and thank you for being absolutely lovely. Some of you got it absolutely right. Some of you did not. So going forward, Carnation Crafts, so Mark and Nick, have decided that their preferred television shopping channel TV partners are going to be Hobbymaker. So we will be popping over to Hobbymaker, and we'll be going live with them on the 19th of June, and that'll be for the next Christmas collection, which is just insanely awesome. It is so exciting. I obviously do demo over there as well, so we've got that going. Davey B's here. Hey Davey B. So I will be back with David Bradford, and we will be doing, David, he got his Sunday name.
Sunday name there.
So it's Dave and I think, that are probably doing the launch. It's really exciting. I think it's one of those things where new starts, fresh starts, always lovely, and they are so lovely over there. Obviously, we're going to have the best time. It's almost, I suppose, business as usual. They'll be selling Carnation products on their website as well, and we will be working. So some questions that you're asking here, are they full-time? No, at the moment, Hobbymaker do their channel from 1 till 8, I believe. Whether that stays the same or not, I don't know. So they have different hours to sort of the other channels. But it'll all just stay posted with them. They have got everything that you need on YouTube. They've got a full channel, so any demonstrations that we put on there will be on YouTube and will stay on YouTube. You just need to search by date. They also have them on their own website, which is hobbymaker.co.uk. So you can find everything that you need on there, and you can also find all of our own products on our own website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. carnation.co.uk. So some of you were correct, some of you were not. We just want to say, as a team, a massive thank you for all your support. You've been incredible. You always have been. You always will be. The same things will go as always went. So we will have, 2 launches a month. It's always been the same, and that won't change. So we just hope you come and join us over on Hobby Maker. Miss Tiztaz, it's very exciting. What are you pointing at me?
We're still going to be here.
We're still going to be here in this very warm, very, very warm studio, which is not pretty right now. And there's loads more exciting stuff to come from Carnation as well. We've got other announcements that we'll be making further down the line. If you want to see what's going on, what shows are going on, please do visit the website and go to the calendar, which will tell you exactly what shows are coming up, when they're coming up, whether it's a USB, whether it's going to be a die launch, whatever it is, and you'll be able to see everything that you need to see there. A massive thank you for joining us this afternoon. We've had a blast. Gifted Christmas was awesome. The announcement is really exciting. We'll see you all really soon. Take care till then. Bye.